ようこそどうぞはじめまして
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. We have somehow managed to put 2 episodes together back to back in normal time frame for change. So glad to be back, and we are just in time for the Winter 2020 anime season. Got to get used to saying 2020.
Which of these shows will be on our top 10 of the decade list?
Gotta make sure we remember to write them on our anime checks.
Yes. We live in cyberpunk now. It's anime 2020.
Yes. There's probably some cyberpunk delay joke to be made in there, but we'll leave that one alone. But yeah, so new season. Lots of new shows to talk about. We were just discussing that we actually are going to be only talking about new shows on this episode, which is kind of neat. There's quite a bit to go over, and lot to get into. So let me just get introductions out of the way. I'm Jel, and I'm joined, as always, by Iro.
I'm still here. I'm not dead yet.
Not dead yet. Still here, and also joined by G.
What's good, y'all?
And we have Marlon.
Yo.
So, yeah. Let's get into the new season. We're actually about 2 episodes in now. I don't think any episode 3s have come out yet, right?
What's the ID in Invaded?
Well, that's because it started with a double.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Okay. Yeah, because I think we're recording on Saturday, so I think Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken comes out tomorrow. That's for the 3rd episode.
So
but
we have... Basically, we've seen the first episode of everything and the second episode of a couple of things at this point.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some of them I didn't get to second episodes on everything, but we've seen enough for some of our scolding hot takes here. So
exactly.
Let's get started then on the first show on our list, Somali and the Forest Spirit. This is fantasy dad anime.
Yeah.
Where the dad is a forest spirit robot golem thing, and
he doesn't feel emotions.
Yes,
except he totally feels emotions.
I got a bone to pick with you guys, Jel and Marlon specifically, and I guess Zig too. All of you guys who wrote the Somali and the Forest Spirit first look.
Okay.
Because I'm not gonna act like that anime is like revelatory or anything. But I hit Control F on that article, and the word background did not come up a single time in your post. And I did not know I lived with fucking war criminals.
I think I noted it was pretty. I don't know.
Look, my point is, like, I mean, this is going to be a pervasive theme in this season, I feel like based on the shows that have come out so far. But I feel like this is the season of shows with extremely pretty backgrounds, and Somali and the Forest Spirit is maybe the most exemplary of that. Like, that first episode, like, maybe not that novel, but as Iro can attest, I feel like every 30 minutes I was like, damn, what a gorgeous background.
Listen to that mid-aughts JRPG music.
Yes, the music also quite good. I'm very much into...
It's music right out of, like, B-tier Tales game.
Yes.
So a Tales game.
Yes, you don't need to say B-tier when you talk about the Tales series.
Yeah, no, unquestionably the presentation is very nice, and the backgrounds are gorgeous, as you say, G. The setting is kind of neat, like fantasy. It's a slightly different fantasy setting because it's a lot of, like, non-human people and whatnot.
It's like Undertale adjacent.
Yeah, right. I feel like that's a good like comparison.
Yeah,
like,
and I guess the hook is, while it is basically a dad anime where this forest robot guy finds a little girl in the forest and he's trying to bring her to her people, I guess, is the hook. But the twist is that humans are kind of in danger because everybody wants to eat them.
Yeah,
So-
I mean,
there's a little touch of a danger element to it that you don't
Yeah.
necessarily usually get in a dad anime. But
So Dad's days are numbered.
Also, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, half
Sorry,
of
go ahead,
dad
Marlon.
stories are about the dad eventually dying, right?
I mean, yes, some terminal disease, or in Robo Dad's case, the OP shows that he is already breaking down or something. But
Yeah, in the second episode they showed that too.
right, I didn't know if you guys had seen the second episode, but yes, they do confirm he is his days are numbered. But I think Eero's bringing up of Undertale is actually a pretty good comparison in the sense that, like, very cutesy aesthetic, but a little bit of a hint of a kind of an underlying darkness. They kind of talk about how, like, as is natural for human beings, I guess, that once upon a time the humans and the monsters met, and then the humans were real fucking
Wow,
assholes
why do you guys
about
all
it,
look so weird?
and
right,
started a war and got their shit slapped for it.
yeah,
It just seems so strange though that like they eat them. Like it just seems so. It's such an extra mile that they eat a sentient creature. Like it's enough that maybe they like went to war and they murdered all the humans. I mean, that's obviously not great.
Yeah,
but, like, the idea that they enslave them and eat them is just like it doesn't seem to match the tone of like, oh, I have these happy memories of eating a sentient being.
I mean, again, kind of Undertale-ish vibes, right? Of like,
I guess, yeah.
I'm fine with all like conceptually everything in the show. I just didn't feel like the writing was up to
Oh yeah, that's
the task of handling this stuff. Like, there's a lot of info dumping and like
that's fair.
it's just like, yeah. I guess my final verdict is it's fine, but like I wasn't like super
I feel like
excited
I could say
about
that, yeah.
it.
I feel like I could say about a lot of shows this season.
which yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of decent shows this season, but like am I like I probably am not going to keep up with this one personally, but in other seasons I might have. I don't know. It's fine, but background sure are pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't disagree, but I guess for me, I don't mind having an inoffensive show with pretty backgrounds, this season, and maybe that's because I'm not really keeping tabs on the other shows that are kind of similar this season. But for me, Somali is it's working for me.
And I guess almost like because in the second episode they pretty much don't touch on the darkness at all. Like there's dad's gonna die, but like I don't think that's really dark. It's just kind of the way to motivate the story.
Right.
I almost would kind of like it more if it got darker because it kind of would make me think of Humanity Has Declined. Or has declined.
yeah.
Where,
I don't think
that
it's
was
gonna
another
go,
show with very beautiful backgrounds.
Bust out
and
the swearing
very slow
chickens.
Shows.
Right.
Humanity Has Declined was hilarious though.
Yeah. I think that was a comedy more, but I get what you're saying,
guess that's
Marlon.
true.
It
was like a dark comedy.
Yeah, I've only read a few chapters of the manga because this is not a manga I was personally that familiar with. Like before the anime got announced, basically the only thing I knew about Somali was it's that manga with the really pretty backgrounds. So, but my understanding based on what people are saying is that it does get darker. I can't speak to like how well that's handled or how it's executed, but people do say that like. I have heard people say along the lines of like, yeah, it starts out kind of like this, but like once they start like introducing more characters and kind of
Once they get to the town that circles a giant hole called the Abyss.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Sure.
Is that the kind of twist we should be anticipating? I don't know.
I couldn't say, but I do hear people say that yes, it does start to get a little bit more serious and a little bit more dramatic,
right.
But I couldn't tell you the details. So
when I hear you guys come back and say, "Oh my God, episode 8,"
yes,
then maybe
right.
I'll jump back in. But for now, we'll see how that goes.
Man, that robot's got a really creepy, ominous eye in his head. Like that
I hope
thing
it shoots a laser.
That thing better shoot a laser. Yes, as Hero said.
Yes. All right. So let's move on to our next show then. Let's talk about Magia Record, which is a Madoka Magica side story.
What a better way to start the decade than with a
Based
Madoka spin-off.
Based on the mobile game of the same name.
Right.
Sure.
I described this show as the anime equivalent of Rise of Skywalker.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I have not seen that movie yet, but
Which is probably a little harsh because this is at least competently written. But
This seems to just be like, let's take the mythos of how magical girls and stuff work in Madoka and have a story about these other people unrelated to like the meta plot of Madoka.
I mean, the issue, or maybe you can, maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but I feel like the issue with that premise alone is like, lore was never the important part of Madoka, right?
I would agree.
It was, it's similar to like, maybe our concerns with Fate Go, right? It's or maybe it differs from Fate Go in that regard. Is like, lore and background and world building were never the parts of Madoka that I was like, oh man, I need to see another like entry in the franchise that explores this aspect.
Right.
Like the thing about Madoka that was appealing was the character pathos and the drama and
yes,
you know,
things are true.
The interpersonal tragedy of the characters more than
it was a very tightly told, contained story that needed no extra.
Right. So the idea of a Madoka spin-off that's like, and now we're going to explore the
is
lore
this like a
of
prequel?
Madoka.
Like
no,
are these...
well,
so then is this like in the post Wish timeline? Like
there are witches. There are witches. There's a baby Kyubey.
Yeah, they're not really clear on time, but time is relative in the Madoka universe.
Yeah, I guess.
Because basically the core of the plot is that there's these rumors going on that if you go to the original city where the original series took place, that you can be saved and no longer have to be a magical girl or
they
something.
They say this about 30 times in the first episode.
Right.
Oh, really?
So there's I don't know what they're going for exactly, but some connection to the original series.
Yeah,
I think when I was making my Rise of Skywalker comparison, it does feel like this is just clinging desperately to its source material without making any effort to be its own story or anything. Like they're literally copying the visuals and the music. Everything looked like, especially they could have at least made some new music. I mean,
they're using old music.
It's literally the same.
It's not her doing the new tracks, but they use some stock tracks.
Okay, sure.
It's like everything. They're like trying to do like everything exactly the same as the original series, just with new characters or whatever.
I believe the director or like the main staff in charge of the show are the people who did the like witch sequences from the original.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
so like from a technical perspective, it does look like it looks nice and sounds nice and everything. It looks and sounds like Madoka when Madoka was at its best.
You still have like crazy shaft architecture on everything.
Right.
Is Shinbo directing this?
No. It is Shaft, but he's not personally involved with it, from what I understand.
So I mean, I guess we keep talking around this, but like, I guess the question I have then is, does this feel like a thing that needs to exist? Like, does it work? Like,
no.
Does it?
It's something that is milking the cash cow, personally, from what
I mean, you said it was based off a mobile game, so that already kind of.
I don't think the anime would exist without the mobile game. Right. But then the mobile game is just by extension milking the cash cow.
I mean, I guess what I'm really saying is this just another extension of like the inevitable magical girl style milking of Madoka that happened after the original TV series, like
that never really stopped.
Yes. like the fate of like, despite Madoka trying to be its own take on magical girls, its eventual financial and commercial fate was the same as every other magical girl show.
Pretty much, yeah. Maybe even more so. So,
yeah.
Anyway, that's probably more time than we need to devote on this show, unless you're a total Madoka junkie, which I don't know if anybody still is in 2000.
Maybe
those people exist. Ouch! Don't shade, Jesus.
No, what I thought.
It's Yeah, I mean,
I
and
thought
again,
Monica
there was
Monica.
nothing. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it. It's just it doesn't like do anything for me. It doesn't capture any of the original magic or anything.
I know this feeling very well.
So.
All right, well, tell me more about this next show on the list, because I don't know anything, but I see the title, and I'm like, tell me more.
Yes, so let's talk about... I kind of threw all these shows randomly on our show notes, and as it turned out, I think the next block of shows is all going to be weird comedy stuff. But we'll kick it off with Oda Cinnamon Nobunaga, which is... what if, to make up for his past sins, Oda Nobunaga was reincarnated as a Shiba Inu dog in present-day Japan?
Is it named Cinnamon? Is that the thing? Is that the
His
joke?
name is Cinnamon, yes.
What if the show is Oda Cinnamon Nobunaga?
Yeah,
Well,
now that...
I guess apparently anime creators got tired of turning him into a girl, so now he's a cute dog.
Yeah.
Sure. What
What if the dog had a gun?
Yes, what if the dog had a gun?
He doesn't have a gun yet, unfortunately, but
man.
they basically
If
the
one
joke
gun
is
won't do, then two, and if two won't do, then four.
basically the joke is like he literally has transferred his consciousness, so he still remembers being Oda Nobunaga, but he's now in the body of a dog.
Time to take over Japan.
Is the inevitable joke then that other dogs start showing up that are also the incarnations of famous Sengoku era heroes? It's Mitsuhide there,
Yeah, everybody, all the big names are there or will be there eventually.
Sure.
The best one is Date Masamune's.
Does he have an eye patch?
He's like a bulldog with a black spot over his eye. Yes.
Oh, fine, close enough.
Yeah. So this was. I mean, I just watched it because I wanted to see Oda Nobunaga as a cute dog.
Sure. All right. Now,
what it delivered.
Yeah.
And not much else. The joke got stale pretty quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, be honest with me here, Jel. Do you think this show lasts? Like, is this gonna
No, it's not going to.
Okay, so this is just one of those shows where, like, at the end of the year, somebody offhand says, "Hey, remember that show where Nobunaga was a dog?" Oh yeah, I watched like 2 episodes of it.
Basically, because I think Chris watched it as well, and basically the conclusion we both came to was they should have done what they did in the ED and the episode previews and make an actual live action version.
Oh man, with real dogs.
Yeah, so like the ED and the episode previews, they got real dogs that look like the dogs in the show.
That's pretty good.
You know, that would be so much harder to do.
And so they have them like walking around in the ED, and then they do a little skit at the end for the episode preview.
Well, Marley, you want them to just like Beverly Hills Chihuahua this?
I mean, they don't have the budget for that CG, man. Have you seen the Japanese CG
I don't
movies?
think they don't make their mouths move. They just put subtitles on them.
Oh, I don't need the mouths to move.
Yeah.
Like they could just dub right over the dogs. I don't care.
Yeah,
Live action dogs are just.
They basically just have the dogs come in the room and then just dub over there.
Sure.
Gotcha.
So maybe that would have been the more fun course of action.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I don't know.
I feel like is this a full length show?
It is.
Jesus.
So
Wait,
I feel like
it is? Oh.
I feel like this would be the premise of like an 8-minute short. Like as an 8-minute
I would
short,
think
I'd
this
be
would be
like,
like
okay,
a 3-minute short.
Like you could probably make up enough jokes in 8 minutes to like last that week to week, but like full.
Yeah,
length,
that probably would have been the better course of action instead of just burning their entire payload in the episode 1. But
yeah, nobody's wanted to do a good short comedy since that mermaid show. Honestly,
there's surely been
Skullface Bookseller was
some
great.
of them in there.
Yeah, the skeleton
Facebook?
one.
right.
Skullface Bookseller, man. Honda Senate.
Yeah, that was all right.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's keep the comedy march going.
Tell me about this isekai show, Jel.
All right, I'm going to try to say that.
I instantly, my eyes glazed over when I saw the title because I could tell it was isekai.
Yeah,
all right, I'm going to try. I'm going to try and read the Japanese title first, which is. All right, here we go.
Drum roll.
Itai no wa ya nanode. I can't. Oh my god,
He's
it's
already
so long.
cracking up halfway through.
Oh man, you're not even trying.
Bogyu Roku ni Kyokyu Fury Shitai to moimasu, or as it's been localized,
Our one Japanese viewer is scandalized.
Yeah, I apologize for
As long as you're
butchering the
actually
Japanese
trying.
language. As it's been localized, BOFURI, I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense.
It's the
So-
current trend of Shield Hero Jace. I'm the tank in the party. That's why I'm special.
But
Well-
secretly, I'm also the best.
Yeah, so I wanted to watch a trash show this season just to balance things out and say I watched some garbage this season. And this turned out okay.
Really?
I mean,
So
Yes, but you're also the Shinonuma Silverlink apologist here.
well no. So all right, I'll explain. So first of all, I don't think Shinonuma actually did this, but it is
He's the
Silverlink.
director.
Did he actually direct it? I thought I checked this, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
He's co-directing.
Either way, the directing actually isn't really that important. I picked this one because I thought it was I was trying to see if there's some kind of trend here going on with female main characters in isekai shows. But this turns out to be just like, and I'm not denying that it's isekai, but it's a video game. She's playing a video game. The premise is that she moved and can't hang out with her friend as much, so her friend, who is a gamer, sends her the copy of the hot new MMO, which is I'm pretty sure it's just Sword Art Online.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
It has
like the
in this
headset.
game? Do you die in real life?
No, but it has like the VR headset and everything. And and it's not bad. Like it's like completely harmless. It's basically more of like it's just like her and her friend having fun playing video games. And also like if you unless you enjoy playing MMOs and video games, you probably won't care, but I thought it was just kind of fun, like watching her figure out how to min-max her defense stat and
Sure.
It's kind of like MMO junkie.
doing things
of
like using the invulnerability frames from her healing potion to block the boss and stuff like that. Like dumb stuff like that.
Sure.
And there's no
Potion
like
gives you iframes.
when your life bar is going up,
No, this sounds
can't
like
go down.
No, this sounds like a fucking baby game. to
I've
me.
been hit
It
too many
sounds like-
times using my healing flask.
Yeah, I would say, like, as somebody who plays a lot of the Dark Souls games and Monster
No,
Hunter, let me
it's
tell
an
you,
MMO. It's not an action. It's not an action game.
Any fucking video game that lets you that makes you invulnerable while you heal, that's some baby shit. That's some kindergarten bullshit.
Yeah, but so I mean, it was basically, like I said, it's kind of a fun show with her and her friend, like trying to figure out how to break the video game,
Sure.
and instead of like Power Fantasy slave apology stuff.
By the way, these are the standards we hold ourselves.
But
Our standards have gone so low.
I mean,
Right.
I thought it was funny because here at the GLORIO blog always take any opportunity to dunk on Shield Hero, but this is literally the same concept.
But just
And I thought it was funny because like in that show, when the main guy is like designated the Shield Hero, it's like supposed to be like humiliating and like demasculating and all that stuff like that. That he's got to use the shield and he's not Mr.
Mr. DPS over here.
Mr. Big Dick Spear Guy or whatever, right? and in this show, she's actually like she like chooses to pick the shield and is actually having a blast with it and everything, and like everybody actually looks up to her.
I mean, that sounds like this writer actually understands MMOs better than the
That
Shield
the tanks
Hero
are
writer.
Yeah,
core.
Because-
and when she's going out to fight the first monster thing, basically is this bunny that dies by banging its head against her stomach, and she's like, how do you like my rock hard abs? That
Sure,
kind
sure,
of
sure,
stuff.
sure.
So
Does
anyway,
she actually have rock hard abs?
they don't show it.
False
No.
advertising.
Yeah, no, they don't really show much skin at all. Like it's not. It's
Fine.
like I said, it's completely harmless.
Why
But,
are you even getting my
How
attention?
close to Shielder's from FGO's outfit is her outfit?
It is actually pretty close to Shielder's outfit.
Yeah, I've been.
Just they don't shove the camera up her ass.
I was gonna
everywhere.
say, just got a little butt window too.
Well, they don't actually put the camera in that direction, which is the big difference, I guess. But she does
okay.
like a She gets like this poison armor thing.
Oh, sure.
That's like all purple with a giant shield. So
Sure.
yes, she does look like off-brand Shielder from Fate Go, but I thought it was a pretty fun show.
I mean, purple is the
Sure.
color of shields. Just look at Destiny.
Yes,
Purple
is shield color.
Purple Titan's got the shield, right? That's
Yes.
Yep.
so.
It's true.
They got the Captain America shield. So
Hey, fuck you, Ward of Dawn. I remember the old
well,
days.
you can do both now if
fine.
you're that class, but we don't need to go off on a Destiny tangent.
All right, but
on
so
our anime
Jel,
podcast.
tell me, is this a keeper for you? Then you gonna stick with this a few more?
I
episodes?
watched the first 2 episodes and it was pretty fun. So
So
you know.
would you put this above or below your mom and her 2-hit multi attacks or whatever?
Oh yeah, I would put this above the Mom Show.
Okay,
And,
Wow,
okay, it's,
okay.
it's high praise.
High praise, yeah.
and I did watch the full Mom Show, but probably for different reasons. So
Oh, Don Beru.
Can this
look, we all have our
code word now?
Look, I think every guy has his own personal Don Beru, and we'll leave it at that.
Can the shield block 2-hit multi-target attacks?
yeah. The shields can block literally everything.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, but
And it's and again, it's like even though she gets stupidly overpowered, like it's actually just kind of funny and not like, oh look how cool she is that
so
she can.
it's played for laughs more than as a power fantasy is.
Right. It's
And
it's
in
like a
that
fun
regard,
thing.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, right? Because it's sort of the One Punch Man appeal. Like nobody gets annoyed that One Punch Man is too powerful because that's the joke.
Right.
You know, if you played it straight, that's when it gets groan worthy.
Right. When it's supposed to be like, you know, power fantasy, revenge fantasy, incel porn stuff.
Which is why
Right.
everything after One Punch Man Season 1 is not as good.
Well, anyway, let's move along.
What is good is this
to
next show.
Oh yes,
What a lot of people are declaring the best show of the season.
Yuasa does it again.
Yeah,
Last-
seriously.
Ping Pong was anime of the decade, last decade, and Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken will be anime of the next decade. It's simple.
Yes. So, as
Old.
G has mentioned, keep your hands off Eizouken, the latest from Yuasa. If we want to talk about Season of Gorgeous Backgrounds,
Yes, yes. Eizouken is definitely the other big contender here.
yes, this and the next show will also be in there. But this show's pretty great.
I like it a lot. I like it
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Very charming.
I'm surprised that some of you guys actually like it because I feel like a lot of you guys were kind of more cool on Shirobako, and I feel like I'm enjoying Eizouken for very similar reasons that I enjoyed Shirobako.
I'd say I'm still not quite enjoying it just for the, like, nerding about anime kind of stuff, but just, like, there's something very refreshing about how earnest they are about everything. And I think the characters really play off each other well, so when they do
Yeah.
comedy
I-
scenes, I think they do well.
That's a good point. Like, kind of even devoid of the subject matter, I think the main characters are very charming.
Yeah, and this is definitely a much more of a visual spectacle than Shirobako was.
Yeah.
As far as you've got your
Your like imagination sequences.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Like
mean,
right.
I really love the imagination sequences. Like, we talked about this a bit already, on our own, but just, like, when they have their imagination sequence and the backgrounds turn into the, like, kind of hastily sketched, like, backgrounds that are, like,
Right.
like, it feels very...
Half colored and
Right, half-colored, like, kind of just in the heat of the moment. It's, like, I'm a little bit biased here, for those listening who don't know, I am... I could say I am a concept artist.
By trade,
I am a
yeah.
professional illustrator by trade. And it feels so cool to be able to say that, not ironically now. But anyways.
I know, right?
But it's just... Eizouken really... What it really nails is the joy of creation. Like, the way... Asakusa and... I'm sorry, the normal girl, what's her name?
the model.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting her name.
Like I remember Asakusa and Kanamori because they're like the weirdo gremlin people, but I can't remember the normal girl. It just but when they're talking about creating and
Mizusaki.
drawing and what's her name?
Mizusaki.
Mizusaki.
Yeah.
okay, so when Mizuzaki and Asakusa, who are the like two creatives in the group, right, are like talking about making stuff, I feel like it really nails like the joy of creation, and I think maybe not just for art, but I think just like the holistic act of creation itself. Like, there's a really great bit in the first episode, in both episodes. In the first episode, where Asakusa's like sketching like a little like drone robot thing, and then they're talking about, well, what does it do? And it's like, well, it kind of looks like a construction robot. Maybe it does this.
Put safety lines here.
Yeah,
now it looks more construction-y.
Right, right. Put up safety lines here and hanging crane. Now it's a construction thing. It's like, that's so much what art is. It's so much about communicating like intent and story. There's that great bit in the second episode where she's like, showing off her like rotor jetpack thing, and like Kanamori's instantly like, that's not how torque works. Like, that's not physically capable.
Yeah,
and Asakusa's like, well, actually, there's a thing that turns in reverse. See, it does this. It's like, that's the most like artist just like bullshitting thing of like, it's not realistic at all. It's not physically believable in the slightest. But like, it's the little things that creators do to make their worlds feel more lived in, to feel more. Like, it doesn't need to be realistic, it just needs to be believable. Like, that's... Right. And just how much, like... Just how fun it is to imagine these sorts of things.
When all of the sound effects go a cappella...
Right, when they're a cappella, yeah, during the...
Very good.
Yes. It's a really charming show. I'm really liking it a lot. I feel like... I trust... Like, the number of directors I, like, would... like, wholeheartedly trust, like, no strings attached is a pretty short list, but Yuasa is one of them. But even then, I feel like it is very easy to mess up a work that is about creating work, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
If you write, if you like, you imagine like a Hollywood movie about making a Hollywood movie, or a book about writing a book, or in this case, an anime about making an anime. I feel it's very easy to get like real
self-indulgent.
Yeah.
Self-indulgent. And I do understand why some people accuse Shirobako of that. I don't think it is, but I do get why people say that. But I think Eizouken, like, it's so charming. Like, the characters are so charming. The setting is like the weird bizarro world they live in. Like, the teacher's lounge is like in the bottom of an empty pool that's been renovated into an office.
Wait.
Like,
is that really how it was?
Yeah.
Did you see it?
I didn't
Crazy
realize
looking,
that.
Dude, go back to episode 2. They're in a pool. Like, the teacher's lounge is just a drained, like, swimming pool.
We cut this door into the side.
There's like a door carved into the side of the fucking wall. It's so good. Like, it's
I mean,
just this bizarre, nightmarish, like, but really charming setting.
I mean, I would argue the bit in episode 2 where they find all the old anime club equipment is more self-indulgent than anything that happened in Shirobako.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
but, I mean, there was that joy to Vive in it that
I am a person who enjoys seeing how the sausage is made. So it's like, yes, show me this old table and how it works.
I got a real kick out of that scene just because I was like, oh wow, this is like old school shit. Like, this is like...
Anime's not been made this way for decades.
Right, like the camera pane setup thing, like that's even almost before Miyazaki's time. Like, that's like
really? Right
around. I mean, because even I'd say it's right around Miyazaki's time, but by the peak of his career, they'd already moved on to like far more advanced cameras. Like like that setup they had in that clubhouse is like really bulky. That's like from like that's some old school shit. Like, even by the 80s and 90s, they'd already moved on to like. I'm getting too into the weeds here. My point is, like, it's really cool, the stuff they show, and, like, that part in that second episode where they're, like, talking about, like, it reminds me of why I love animation so much. Like, they're talking, they look at that scene of the windmill, right? And they're like, it's spinning, but, like, how come it doesn't feel right? And it's, like, they talk about, like, the timing of the frames, and even then, after that, it still doesn't quite come together, and, like, the idea that, oh, right, animation is, like, all about action and reaction, right? It is all about implied effect, cause and effect. And, like, her talking about, like, but, like, animation is this beautiful thing where, like, you draw a couple lines to apply wind, and all of a sudden, it works. And then, like, at the very end, in the in the real world of the anime, you see the thing spinning, and you see Asakusa's like principles in effect in the show. It like in the world itself is really neat. It's you can tell. I mean, you probably hear my voice. This is a show that is made by creators for creators. It's really lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and you know, I've wrote about some of my, you know, personal aversion to this type of topic and whatnot. Like, I feel like I'd prefer to have use their talents in the medium to like explore other things. Like, I'm interested in animation. I'd love to like watch a documentary on it or something. But like, I feel like when you have this space to do something, I'd prefer it go somewhere else. But even with that said, you know, there's so much charm and enthusiasm, and I love the characters, and the setting is amazing. I was thinking of just like even small moments, and I don't know if this goes credit to Yuasa, whoever was directing episodes or whatever. Like, for some reason, it stood out to me like when they go to the laundromat and like how I can't remember all the girls' name. One of them has to like hold the washing machine down.
Oh yeah,
when. Cause like the world is so like
it's very lived in feel.
Yeah, very lived in. Like you can like feel the you can feel the wear and tear
right and
on the setting.
Yeah, it kind of like to go back to what I was saying earlier about like the like what creators like the best creators make a world feel believable is that the best creators think about stuff like that. You know, like we bring them up all the time, but like the thing that like you know the Gundam creator Yoshiyuki Tomino does really well is like he thinks about like because animation is such a deliberate genre, right? It's not like acting where like an actor can like improvise an action out of nowhere. In animation, you have to like plan every single gesture, every little action, and so I feel like it's even more special in animation when
somebody like slips or something.
Yeah, when a character like slips or they try to catch something and they miss it the first time, because those are just little things you usually don't think about. I think that Eizouken does that really well. It's a show about creators who care deeply about the believability of their work, made by creators who care deeply about the believability of their work.
Yes, like embracing imperfection and things like that.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
One thing I did find kind of weird is that it has like the best. Like 15 or 20 seconds starting of an OP that I've seen in a while, but then like it seems like it runs out of steam right after that moment, because like most of it is just reused animation.
Yeah, I mean, Marlon, do you remember when Ping Pong was first airing?
Kind of.
Do you remember like the first 3-4? Okay, so if you don't remember, the first 3 or 4 episodes of Ping Pong actually didn't have the full OP. It was a similar deal. Like the song was there, but like the animation for the OP was literally not finished until episode 4 or 5.
Oh,
so like they just used a bunch of reused footage until about like midway through, and then they're like, okay, here's the real version of the OP. Like,
yeah, I forgot about that. So you think something similar might happen here?
I'm not saying that necessarily does happen with Eizouken, but it would not be the first time Yuasa has gotten so deeply invested in a work that he forgot to finish the OP before the show started airing. So
you could always watch the live action full video for it.
Yeah, it's a good song. Like it's super catchy.
Oh yeah, easy breezy, baby.
Yeah,
that's the other thing I'll say. This season is the season of good backgrounds and very good OP and EDs. Like. You know, we'll get into this a little bit later, but there are some shows this season with some real bangers.
Yeah. In general, like, all the shows I've watched anyway have looked and sounded pretty good. Like, technical quality's been pretty good, high across the board.
Yeah, it's interesting.
All right. Well, one more show to add to the background list is the unfortunately named Toilet-Bound Hanako-kun.
Yep.
Which is probably my personal favorite show of the season. I have finally, you know, I will gladly admit this is my type of show.
Just
and
embrace
I feel like
that this is your brand of bullshit.
I feel like we haven't gotten one of these in a while, so
It definitely seems to run the like Jell Marlin weird comedy axis.
it's kind of a weird, kind of dark comedy, but with some heart to it.
And also, let's be real, there will probably be a romance angle like halfway through. Like, let's not kid
it's
ourselves.
already starting, to be honest.
So
It was already
there's
there
a little
in
bit
episode
of
1.
yeah, that's definitely in there. So, we already mentioned the art. This has, it's the first thing everybody notices when they watch this. This is a very distinct art style to it.
Like Penny and Stocking, a Jace looking show.
Yes, there's a lot of...
yeah, definitely with the character proportions.
Yeah, the character proportions are kind of similar. A lot of bold lines and interesting color choices that are very bright and colorful, but still also slightly creepy. That's kind of the vibe they're going for. Mm-hmm. There's kind of a slight horror element to it, because the hook of the show is that they're kind of playing into, Japanese schoolyard urban legends and folklore and whatnot. And the main girl is seeking out Hanako-san, who apparently, if you go to a certain stall in the girl's bathroom, will grant you a wish. Mm-hmm. And things kind of go downhill from there.
It's just that's like a super famous urban legend, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the ones in the show are some kind of, fairly famous. Like later on, they meet the the Japanese mermaid, which is a lot different than our concept of a mermaid, but which I've heard that legend before too, that with the scales and whatnot. But,
really?
Yeah, I have heard of that part. Yes,
but I do think what I like about the show, the differences between this and maybe your typical school comedy are probably subtle, but aside from the looks, obviously are pretty unique. But I do like the main two characters a lot. I think the main girl, her appearance, at least for me, made me think she was going to be a certain type of character, like more of the, shy, meek type of character that doesn't stick up for themselves. And so far in the first 2 episodes, she hasn't really been that type of character. And I feel like they've written Hanako pretty well, in that even though he looks like a little boy, he's actually, like, the way he talks and everything is very much like an older person. Cause
he's actually 1,000 years old.
Oh, yeah, he's at least a couple decades.
Or at least a couple decades old, because I think he's wearing some kind of, like... old,
yes. I just mean leading into the looks like a child, but is
right, but
mentally
it's
legal.
It's your classic Dusk Maiden situation,
yes. Right? But the way he talks and acts, and like his level of, I guess, I don't know if I necessarily say maturity, but the way he can figure out that this girl isn't really in love with this guy. Or, in episode 2, there's another guy that's using it. Like, those aren't necessarily things that a kid that age is going to really pick up on. They're probably going to be a meathead like the Exorcist character guy that gets introduced in episode 2. But yeah, I think it's pretty well written as far as the relationship between the main 2 characters, and that core of it is what makes it good to me. I am kind of wish, and I'm concerned that that's not going to stay the focus, or at least enough.
Yeah, I am kind of wondering.
They're kind of injecting this monster of the week type of thing into it,
right?
Where we're probably going to have to fight a different. What I guess they call them wonders for the different urban legend things creeping around the school or whatever, and. Like I said, they introduced in episode 2 a rival exorcist guy, which I'm not wild about. Like, I would have preferred this as more of like a focus on the main 2 characters kind of experiencing normal life in very weird circumstances type of show.
Jell, don't we always talk about how these shows live and die by their supporting cast? I mean, we were literally talking about Kaguya the other day, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
Yamada-kun was able to work even though it was kind of a monster, witch of the week kind of deal. I mean, it's not impossible.
I don't know if you're remembering how badly that show collapsed in the end.
I mean, it
Because
wasn't.
they had to rush in the other 7 witches.
That was more of a pacing problem than anything, though, right? Like, if they.
Well, I mean that could happen here, though. That's what I'm saying.
That's true.
If they have to check all the check boxes, so I don't know. We'll see as far as whether they can keep it up. But I really did enjoy the first 2 episodes a lot. And I hope they can keep it up.
Sure. I mean, I was gonna rain on your parade, but I gotta be honest, man. I watched the first episode of this, and like, I guess for me, this was what Somali was to you. Where I was watching, I was like, this is a really nice looking show, but I just got to admit, right? This genre usually doesn't really do it for me. Like it takes a Kaguya-sama of like, oh, this is like a legitimately like really great comedy, irregardless of the character drama and the romance. But I feel like for me, the jokes didn't really land with me, at least in the first episode. I don't know about the second, but
yeah. I think with something like Kaguya is more going directly for the gags, whereas this is kind of more of an all-around type of
that's maybe
romantic comedy type of thing. I would definitely call it a romantic comedy. I don't think there's any. It
seems to at least be angling towards that. I do wonder, what The Exorcist is how he's gonna factor into it, because he's very prominent in the opening, which would seem to imply that he's like
love triangle, right? Isn't that usually the way this shit goes? I mean,
I unfortunately that's probably the direction they're going to go, and maybe my opinion is going to go south after another episode or 2. I don't know, but for now, I really loved it.
Okay,
and
well, hopefully it keeps it up then.
I am glad I finally got one of my kind of shows. I can't even remember the last one.
That show that was so thoroughly on your specific brand of bullshit.
Yes, it's been a while. So.
Yeah, like Tadakun is listless or something like that.
I guess I would kind of include Kaguya-sama in there, but that was a year ago. So right. I don't know. All right, I guess fun time is over. So let's get on to some of the other shows we have on our list.
Oh, it's not like the rest of these shows are bad or anything.
No, I'm not saying they're bad, but they're not comedies. We had like a block of comedy shows there. Okay, so ID Invaded is the only show I didn't watch on this list.
I think Id Invaded, I think.
Or is it Id Invaded?
Actually, that would actually make a lot more sense.
Well, okay, so the way Iro and I have described this anime is basically we would rather play the B-tier Uchikoshi adjacent video game version of this anime. Right. Here's the thing. The premise of this anime, I'm super into. It's
What is the premise?
Basically...
go
Iro,
ahead.
you go ahead.
All right. We have developed technology that allows us to basically pick up the brainwaves of killers at the scene of the crime and create something called id wells.
And they're called, by the way, the particles they pick up are called, like, what was it, cognition particles. Cognition particles.
And so they can send people into this simulation id well of, like, created of the psyche of the killer and use that to track down information that can be used to capture the killer.
Right, it's kind of neat. It's a neat premise where like they're not jumping into the actual mind of the killer, but like they're putting together like a patchwork of like their consciousness based on like their behavior and where they've been active, and so like it ends up in these situations where it creates like these really surreal landscapes, right? Like in the first episode, like all the like terrain is like split up and floating in like this kind of void space. And,
right, that was really cool.
Is this like an action show?
It's like a psychological,
it's like a thriller
mystery show.
Yeah, like again, I'd say it's like think of an Uchikoshi game. Think of like 999 or VLR. Like it's
right.
It's
okay.
There are actiony bits, but it is more kind of VN-esque of like gotta solve the mystery. And
it has this very like episodic sort of structure where like we're going into this simulation this time.
Yeah, like this guy got a good gimmick of like the detective, like the guy they send into the Idwell is like, I guess, like a former detective, but also like a convict.
Right.
Like,
they lock him up in the same place as they lock up all their serial killers.
Right.
Which kind of like brings up the question of what is his deal.
What was his crime? And like every time he jumps into an Idwell, his memory resets. Like he doesn't take any memory from before he jumps into the Idwell. So like, again, this would be a really good Uchikoshi game, right? Like
right.
Think about like how like your memory resets with every timeline. Like that's kind of what they're doing here. And like every time he jumps in, he sees this girl, the corpse of this girl who has been killed in various ways. That is like, I don't know, like they haven't revealed yet. Is some kind of latent part of like he brings that part of his subconscious with him into the Idwell, but she always like kind of gives him a hint to like how to solve the crime, and like he's trying to like he's hunting down these serial killers because like one of the serial killers like. Because all these serial killers were, like, trained and inspired by a man named Johnny Walker. Yes, I know, it's absurd.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And
that's a real thing.
That Johnny Walker?
Yes, apparently,
He's
literally,
dressed like him.
It looks like a man with a beard, a top hat, and a cane. I'm not even joking. and like, one of these serial killers who was trained by Johnny Walker killed his daughter, and it's, like...
So, what's the downside?
There's a lot of mystery. It's a little disjointed.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
I like it. I do like it, but it is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, like it moves fast and it's like complex enough that it's kind of difficult to keep up.
Yeah. It can be a little difficult.
Yeah.
It was definitely a good idea for them to do the double episode for the first one.
It's also just kind of gruesome. There's a lot of murder and...
Oh, that's true.
We'll have time for that on the next show, but...
Yeah.
I actually really liked the villain for the second episode. Like, if you're okay with me just spoiling it.
The drill guy or the sniper?
No, the fireworks guy.
Oh, yes,
right,
yes.
right.
Yeah, like he's basically... Like, he's criticizing insta-culture via his murder. Like so it turns out he's a photographer and he takes photos of the people rubbernecking at his explosions. And I thought that was a really interesting concept.
It is, yeah, it's a neat gimmick. I mean, that's a thing. The thing I think they're doing pretty well so far is, again, you're not going into this expecting like, oh, this is like a real serious drama. I mean, it is serious. It takes itself seriously, but it is. It is kind of goofy in that way anime dramas are, you know, like, look, they jump into a thing called the Idwell that is created by collecting cognition particles at the scene of a crime. It's
right.
It's kind of ridiculous, but I do like it. I treating it as the kind of B tier like fiction it is. I am enjoying it. I just think that the video game version would probably be better.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But also, the ED is a fucking banger. Like, holy shit, the ED is so good. It's performed by Miyavi, and if that name doesn't ring a bell, that is also the guy who did the fucking ridiculous Kokoku opening, if you remember that one. Mm-hmm. The time freeze anime from was it like a year ago, maybe more at this point. But
okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so that dude certainly
has a vibe,
and he goes for it in this ED. I really dig it.
Is this actually based on anything, or
it's
is
an
it
original?
It's an original, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
And it is being handled by what's his name?
Aoki. Who directed Fate Zero and some other shows that don't need to be mentioned.
We don't talk about.
Well, what was that one? Well, that's not mentioning it. I'm not going to say the name. Okay, so are you guys going to keep up with it?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm still enjoying it.
All right, so maybe we'll check back in on that in the future. And as I said, speaking of graphic violence,
all right, time for the Netflix seasonal G.
Yeah, so the G recommends a bizarre, violent manga
that's
adaptation.
Prisoner by Netflix.
That is being held prisoner by Netflix.
Netflix is a very specific genre that we seem to be getting.
And it's
every
also
season.
CG.
Yeah, that's true.
Netflix,
So,
why you gotta do me dirty like this?
let's talk about Dorohedoro. Is that how you're
Yes,
supposed to say it?
Dorohedoro.
Not to be confused with Dororo.
Gee, tell me what the hell I just watched.
Oh, baby. Dorohedoro. Dorohedoro is... See, I didn't get to do the spiel because we didn't get to do our seasonal preview podcast. So I have to do it here now. But, yeah, Dorohedoro is... it is a seinen manga that was illustrated and written by Q Hayashida. It basically takes place in this kind of urban fantasy world in which humans live in this awful, dank shithole of a city called Hole.
Los Angeles.
Yes, or as some call it, L.A. But they share it with sorcerers, magic users, wizards, whatever you want to call them. Different translations have different interpretations of the word. But basically... there are wizards in this world, and they are tremendous assholes. They use their magic power they believe their magic power gives them carte blanche to just experiment on humans with their magic. And the story is about a pair of denizens of Hole. One is Nikaido, a meaty young woman who runs a gyoza shop in Hole. Who is good with a skateboard and kung fu, and her best friend, Kaimon, a man with no past and no memory, but what he does have is a lizard's head grafted to his body, with no memory of how he got a lizard head instead of a human head, but also he knows that there's a man that lives inside of his mouth, and that when he eats wizards, the man in his mouth comes out and checks to see if this is the wizard that did this to him. And thus begins the adventures of Kaimon and Nikaido to solve the mystery of Kaimon's...
So it is supposed to be Kaimon, not Cayman, like the animal?
Well, it's a weird thing because it is Cayman like the animal, but in the anime they pronounce it Kaimon.
Okay.
Like you hear them verbally say it out loud, it's Kaimon, so it's...
Yeah, that's true.
And I could get into some... I'm not going to spoil anything here, but I'll just say that maybe it is Kaimon, maybe it is Cayman, who can say. But yeah, it's Dorohedoro is one of those manga that was always kind of on my list of like, oh, this is never getting an anime adaptation because the art style is very grungy. It's very like Q Hayashida specifically created Dorohedoro as like a tribute to like the 90s manga that she grew up with. So like it very much kind of has that kind of 90s vibe of like very sketchy lines and very like a real grungy vibe to it. And you know, I will say like another show with really pretty backgrounds.
Sure. It does have a mood, that's for sure.
Yeah, they really nail... I would say if there's anything the Dorohedoro anime does super well, they totally nail the vibe of Dorohedoro. Like music, backgrounds, the art direction, like the voice casting, all of it super well done. They totally nailed it. Like I love the OP and the ED of this anime. Like both of them just like totally nail the kind of like nightmarish punk shitpost vibe of Dorohedoro. The caveat is... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Marlon.
It's just, for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking of Let It Die. Which I guess maybe it was inspired by Dorohedoro, but like, I actually really dig, for some reason, this really grotesque style of both of them, where, you know, it's really, for some reason, mushroom-focused, and it's got this really good Urban Decay style, and I'm not quite sure what it is about it, but it's really striking. It's
a cool vibe. There's not a lot of manga or anime out there that look like Dorohedoro or feel like it, and you're right, it kind of does have a Suda 51 sort of vibe to it. And I definitely do see that. I would say the one caveat with this show is that it seems like all the primary characters are being animated in CG. It's not the worst CG I've ever seen. It's a thing of like maybe Beastars got away with it because they're animal people, and so like it's not as jarring. But with Dorohedoro, I think in some shots it looks fine. I'd say in some shots it even looks pretty good, but
yeah, it was kind of hit and miss.
A little bit of the problem is just like Kaimon is a little bit too much like flapping up and down. I feel like even in Beastars they were actually able to make the mouth kind of look like it was moving normally.
Yeah, that's definitely one issue. Like his mouth flapping is very noticeable.
Whatever, y'all just need to watch more Toku.
Well, just treat him more like a puppet or something.
Exactly.
But yeah, otherwise, Dorohedoro is one of those manga I never thought would get an anime, so I never really knew what expectations to have. But I'm into their take on it so far. I'd like to see where it continues to go. Dorohedoro is not quite Beastars level of like there's a ridiculous, insane thing happening every single episode, but in a weird way, it is something of a weird, disparate sibling in the sense of Dorohedoro could be described as like it's a seinen, it's action, it's also a black comedy, it's kind of a cooking manga. It's a lot.
Yeah, there was a lot of cooking, a lot more cooking than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Say that.
The thing that instantly told me that the people working on this anime knew what they were doing is when the OP is just 90 seconds of one of the main characters making gyoza. I was like, oh, okay, these people definitely understand Dorohedoro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess... Does it go anywhere? This is my question.
Oh yeah, it does. Like, they're kind of, it's the first episode, they're kind of beginning... like I feel like many manga of its specific build and type kind of start off episodic. They're introducing all the main characters. Like, this week we got, Kaimon and Kaido. They begin to introduce the wizards, Fujita, the kind of the lame-o loser from the beginning of the episode, and N, the mushroom wizard, who is maybe one of the best fucking villains in a manga I have ever read. That dude is... Oh, that dude's got some great moments coming up. Introducing the two Hotline Miami motherfuckers at the end of the first episode. Also have a very large role to play in the story. They're introducing the characters right now, but they will move towards a kind of main overarching plot in time. Okay.
Yeah, I guess for me personally, I don't particularly enjoy like graphic violence. And like, not that it bothers me, but like when I see a dude get sliced up into pieces and explode into blood, I'm not like, oh cool, I'm like, that's kind of gross.
For me, like the real extreme thing was like having the one girl have her fingers cut off and then she still just runs away, like
right, like stuff like I guess like I said, it's not like I like morally object or am bothered by it. It's just like I don't like think, oh, that's so cool, right, when I see that kind of stuff.
I don't necessarily think it's meant to be, oh, that's so cool, as much as like maybe you can back me up here, but like the music that play, like it's when they go to the hospital and they see all the people that have been like transformed by the bug magic, and it's playing this like
goofy honky tonk, like
this goofy honky tonk music. I think it does a great job of communicating like the vibe of Dorohedoro. Like, that's a scene you could totally play self-seriously, of like, oh man, like, there's some fucked up wizard going around turning people into cockroaches. But, like, the music helps, like, set the scene of, like, no, like, it's meant to be a black comedy, this is meant to be goofy. Like, the fact that these people are literally talking shit about this wizard because they're like, these transformations are half-finished, this guy's not even that good at this. Like, is kind of, like, the vibe of, like, even at the very end of the episode where, Kaimon rips the face off that girl, like...
Oh, right, yeah, that happened, too, I totally forgot about that.
It's gruesome, but it's also meant to be kind of comical, like, the absurdity of it, like Kaimon, like, flapping his gums while a human's face is, like, stuck between his teeth like a piece of food.
Right.
Like, it is grotesque, I'm not gonna deny that, but... that's kind of what I mean when I say it's kind of more of a dark comedy than necessarily, a self-serious, like, a Berserk or Vinland Saga style seinen.
Mm-hmm. Right. I guess if there's a goal here or a purpose for all this, then I could, maybe get into it. But, if it's just like, pulp action, blood exploding everywhere type of stuff, if that's the direction we're going, then I'm like, I don't know. But I can definitely see the appeal, though. Like, the setting and the whole vibe, the whole mood of it is very cool.
Yeah, it's
and not something that we see very often in
right.
anime these days. So,
right.
I definitely see the appeal on it for sure. I'll probably check out more of it. And one more thanks Netflix on that one.
yes.
Thanks Netflix.
Thanks, like barely existent anime subbing community for they've still come back to do each of these shows.
It's true.
Yeah. Hypothetically, we've never actually watched this show.
Yeah, I mean, I heard at least.
Yes,
that's what I've been told.
I heard the backgrounds were very well drawn in Dorohedoro.
I heard it on the internet.
Yes.
Right.
My uncle works at Japan.
my uncle works in Japan. He works at the anime place.
Yes, he works at the anime factory.
The anime factory.
Oh, Christ.
Oh boy!
All right.
Did anyone else watch these next two shows, or is it just me?
Nope.
Actually, I did not.
Okay.
But, I was going to watch Smile Down the Runway, and I ran out of time.
Okay.
But if you want to fill us in,
Smile on the Runway was surprisingly okay. It's a shonen about following your dreams and never giving up, but the dreams in question are fashion design and being a runway model.
Both?
There's two main characters.
Okay. Yeah. I was say, damn, this person is
multidisciplinary.
See,
but she wants the main girl wants to be a runway model like super bad, and she's the child of two like major figures in the fashion industry, but she's too short to be a model.
Oh no!
That sounds like a classic shonen roadblock you have to overcome.
It's not like she couldn't use the rest of her like nepotism-based connections in the industry to make it into a prominent position regardless.
Totally. And the boy is like wants to be a fashion designer, but he has to take care of his sisters, so he etc.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with something more realistic, like, or more ridiculous, like, he's blind, or he doesn't have hands.
No, but
he wants to be a fashion designer.
Yeah, so he designs the clothes for her, and she models them, I guess, is the idea. But over the first, like, 2 episodes at least, they kind of get into, like, how fucking cutthroat the industry is, just based on that sort of stuff. Like, she gets basically turned away from every possible agency because she's too short.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty realistic.
Yeah.
This is the weird connection I have here, but I am friends with a fashion photographer, and they often tell me about how modeling is it's pretty cutthroat, and it's also it's one of those industries where it is kind of a winner take all situation.
Or like the big dude signs up, like they can't hire him to design for the agency because he's in high school, but we can sure give you this unpaid internship at this apartment where you're going to be working your ass off until you're puking to work on clothes, because you really want to be a fashion designer, right?
Yeah, if it's your passion, then it's not really work, Like, you should be happy to work on it.
Oh man, that's a little too real.
Yeah, but, I mean, 2 episodes in, it's like it's fine. So
I'm looking up it is actually a shonen manga.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, it's not like we're not making comparisons.
Like straight up published in a shonen magazine and everything, huh? Interesting.
Yes. So maybe this is a Welcome to the Ballroom situation.
Right.
Where you can
I was kind of reminded of Welcome to the Ballroom, although that show was like tonally a lot more consistent with what you'd think of as a shonen. This Smile Down the Runway is a lot sparklier, let's say.
Yeah, I was going to say the look of it looks like a shoujo.
Yeah. And tonally,
the art style.
Tonally, it's kind of in the middle. Whereas, to the Ballroom is definitely shonen, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm always glad to see, like, I hate things getting stuck on rails for shoujo or shonen, where like you can just predict exactly what they're gonna do every single time, or like that, like they have to fit in that exact demographic formula or whatever.
Right.
So I'm always for things crossing boundaries. If that's the case here, I don't know, but like I said, I was actually going to try and watch it, and I just ran out of time.
Right.
I mean, do you think you're gonna keep watching it?
Maybe
or
a couple more. I don't see myself sticking with it like long term. Like I'm not going to go to bat for it, But
give it the 3 episodes.
Right. It's fine.
Sure.
It's a decent enough show about fashion design and modeling.
Does this show have...
I mean, I can imagine, too, if you're interested in that topic.
And I'm not particularly interested in either of those topics.
I mean, I can always get sold on a thing I'm not that familiar with. I mean, I love Welcome to the Ballroom, and I don't dance, I can tell you that for sure, but... I can get sold on an interesting premise if it's done well. The question I was going to ask is, I don't know, does this count as an anime this season? Did it have either really pretty backgrounds or a really banger OP or ED? If it didn't have either of those, I don't think it counts as an anime this season.
Fair. This next show has a pretty decent ED. It's got dancing in the ED.
Yeah, I actually, for some reason, forgot the title of this one, but I watched this one too.
Oh, okay. Because the Japanese title is like, it's one of those things where the English title is not really that related to the Japanese title.
Oh yeah,
right. Although it is a nice English title.
Yes. The next, and it's in the logo for the anime. Anyway, the next show we're talking about is Spectre. That is /Spectre like a ghost, as a pun for Inspector.
Like yes,
ha ha ha.
I
like this show. I don't know.
Does it have a ghost inspector?
So the main character of the show is a girl who, when she was young, was abducted by yokai, and they asked her, basically, we are too stupid to solve our problems because we're ghosts.
Yes, ghosts, infamously dumb.
Please become our spirit detective.
Oh, man, I thought she was going to become a ghost detective.
So they eat her eye and leg, for equivalent exchange to give her like the ability to see and speak with ghosts, and
interesting.
As a teen, she is like the mediator / detective / inspector for yokai.
Sure, okay.
And hangs out with this dude who.
I was gonna say she's also.
Go
she
ahead.
has the hots for this guy that she just met in the hospital.
Okay.
For some reason.
She is super hot for this other dude who, I guess, has a dark and mysterious past where he ate mermaid flesh and is thus immortal. And so
I thought you were going to say, I was going to say, is the twist here, is this going to be some Sixth Sense shit where actually he's been dead the whole time?
So all of her yokai friends are like terrified / disgusted / hate him because he consumed yokai flesh.
But didn't they eat her? That's not fair.
Yokai are hypocrites.
They get to do stuff, I guess.
If there's anything you should take from mythology, it's that demons and yokai and the like, and demigods and sprites and nymphs, all of them, infamous hypocrites. No consistent standards.
You watch Noragami. I mean,
that's true. So is this like is it an actual mystery show?
Yeah,
or
it seems like it. I watched the second episode this morning, and they like start off where the dude is basically like, "This seems like kind of a shitty trade for you because it's not like you have any supernatural powers or anything. Like you can't fly, you don't have super strength, you can't exercise anything, you can't throw lasers, you just can talk to yokai."
Oh, that's all she got out of the deal, basically.
Right. So it's really more of a mystery / like detective show than a supernatural action show.
Right.
Okay. But I mean, is it like serious or is it more of like a?
It's a little serious. I would.
Not serious.
Yeah.
It's not a comedy.
Okay. There are lighthearted parts, mostly when she's trying to hit on him, but yeah.
Okay. So it's based on a novel series, and so not a light novel, but
like real
quote
novels,
unquote real novels. I'm not sure what the distinction is. I'm not sure what the distinction is in over there.
Is the title less than 10 words?
It
That's
is.
the distinction. Yeah, that's how you know if it's a real novel.
God. So I think the dialogue to me is slightly less egregious than what we think of as anime dialogue.
Man,
Right.
I'm looking at these pictures. She doesn't even have an eye patch.
No, she has a glass eye.
She's got a
yeah.
glass eye. Yeah.
I've been sold a false bill of goods. I thought I was oh man, who I gotta look.
She's got a prosthetic leg.
I gotta look up what this badass bitch looks like with an eye patch and a peg leg. No, she just looks like a normal anime girl.
Yeah, they
fuck
also
is this?
seem to imply she hasn't grown up since the incident,
Man.
so she's also 15 years old, or she
This
looks
is-
15 or something like that.
I don't know
She
about that.
seems pretty grown in some of these pictures, but
You may be looking at a different character. You may be looking at pictures of the villain character.
Because she's like a tiny anime girl.
Yeah, I'm looking at this
Okay.
girl right now, and man, not even an eye patch. Come on.
All right.
What a glass eye. It's in anime terms, having a glass eye might as well just mean you have a real eye.
Fair, I guess.
yeah.
At least it should glow or do something cool. Man, what?
Hey, maybe we'll in the future. We'll let you know. Okay.
What a
Yeah,
swindle.
it seems to just be so far the meta plot. I assume there's a meta plot. Has not started yet, and so at least as of episode 2, it seems to be we're going to go and solve this week's supernatural mystery at request of the yokai of that area, and figure out how that ties in with the supernatural stuff, etc. Although I've seen a lot of pictures of this frilly dressed, faceless woman holding a steel girder, who I assume to be the villain.
I know because I think Aqua is a fan of the manga, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And unfortunately we couldn't have him on today, but we have some line of recommendation from the GLORIO crew.
Couldn't they given her a robot leg or something at the very least?
Whatever.
Come on.
Not everything has to be a robot.
She just has a normal prosthetic.
So lame. I'm so disappointed. It's anime. Isn't the whole point of anime you have a literal reason to give her heterochromia? You have an actual excuse, and not just the usual anime dumbass excuse. They don't even take it.
All right.
She just wants to be treated normally. I actually don't even
Should
know if that's true.
should have at least
I don't
been
know.
rocking the eye patch. I'm not saying you gotta have a robot leg. It doesn't have to be that kind of setting, but an eye patch, come on. That's so much to ask for in 2020. Is a girl with an eye patch.
Well, let me tell
2020
you
year
about
of the eye patch.
I don't know what to say, man.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I think that's everything. Unless you want me to talk about Pokemon again.
we got some time left. If you want to talk about Pokemon.
No, I'm good.
Well, Pocket Monsters 2019, started. It's the new reboot where they travel from region to region.
Yeah.
Mr. Mime knows Kung Fu.
Yep. We did cover that.
I was going to
last,
say, I thought we talked about this
You
last
did? Damn.
We
okay.
did. We literally did. You're literally just retreading old
Kamen
ground
Rider
here.
01 still going. They introduced Thouser, the other CEO who was also Kamen Rider. The rival CEO who was a Kamen Rider.
I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel about a kids show glorifying CEOs as heroes. I think this sends a bad message to kids.
I would
about,
agree.
The capitalist machine that we all toil under.
I mean, does is Kamen Rider part of the problem? Is he just upholding the system?
Exactly.
Might be.
Is he just
Kamen
protecting?
Rider's a cop.
I mean,
Right,
Kamen Rider has literally been a cop before.
Yeah, but like
That's right.
you know, it's one thing to like be a cop because like you
Because
get a
you're a
cool
cop.
motorcycle, and it's another thing to like
Well,
defend the status quo, man. Like,
there is no ethical consumption in Kamen Rider.
yeah, I feel like.
Well,
Look, I'm just saying, no human needs to make that much money. Like, no human being needs to be as rich as Jeff Bezos. Like, can you imagine the nightmare
I feel like
scenario?
we're losing the plot.
Can you imagine the nightmare
is-
scenario in which Jeff Bezos gained access to the Kamen Rider armor or suit?
that actually would be
powers?
pretty awful.
Like,
now that
the-
you're-
Elon Musk
the-
invents a Kamen Rider driver.
Right, like the
he's
the
probably working
suffering,
on one right now, honestly.
the untold suffering that would occur if people who were not only obscenely rich
right.
were also akin to gods that walked amongst
Jel,
us.
we have 10 minutes left. You took Railgun off of the list. What do you...
I don't have anything to say about Railgun.
Thanks, neither do I!
Great.
Gee, what do you have to say about Railgun?
Well, what I
That's the
can
only-
tell you is that if you want to read our first look posts or check out some of our other content, you can check us out at theglorioblog.com. You can follow
Yes.
us on Twitter at theglorioblog. You can listen to our sister podcasts, Glorio's King of the Kaiju, as well as some of our other podcasts that have finished up recently, like Legend of the Glorio Heroes, where Iro and I discuss the legendary 1988 science fiction OVA.
All right, we
we're
need to get to the
also
end of
on
that.
Podbean, Spotify, Google Play. You can watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes on iDiamond VRP.
This is what I feel. You're hearing us run out of steam live on tape, folks.
And you aren't the guys up till 12:30.
No. Gee, I realize you have not had an opportunity to do the housekeeping in a while, so thank you for taking around here.
I gotta stretch that muscle, or else I'll forget how.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that does it then. Not a whole lot more to say, and we'll see which of these shows we end up keeping up with, and we'll touch base on them later for sure. So, G's already done the housekeeping, so that's it.
See you
Thanks,
later.
guys.
Later.
See you later.
Matana いい顔にしてられない街に繰り出すよって